All right, good morning, YouTube. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I think we're ready now. Trying to get it situated, trying to figure out what to do on the other side before we start doing this analysis here because it may take a few minutes. Again, just to recap, very strong euro today, very weak pound. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through, do a little four-hour sweep here, see if we can figure out what's going on for the rest of the day. Again, we've had a very strong euro. Dollar's not really doing a whole lot. A little bit stronger than normal, but it's not really moving that much. Very strong euro, very weak pound. It's kind of been the story. Looking for reversals going into New York. Got a new 4-hour candle here now. We're about an hour into it. I'll just take a little look at it. Sweep through the 4 hours, see what's going on. Just get into it. Right now, the dollar index, just overall, not really much to say there. I don't know what this weird spike was in the data. That was kind of weird. I'm just ignoring that right now. I mean, it obviously had a big dump yesterday, whenever that was, overnight. Probably wouldn't mess with it right now. It's likely to be in a range. It's picking back up a little bit, but my guess is it's going to pick up a little bit and then reject again. It's broken the high a few times. So this is the thing. I mean, you got a swing high here, a swing high here, and we just made a new one recently. So now that this is pulled back a little bit, I mean, it could do anything here. A lot of times what'll happen, you'll get like a consolidation like this, and you'll get a consolidation underneath it, and then you'll get a consolidation underneath that, and then you'll get probably slam this low volume section out right here and range inside of there, and it'll put in some kind of range and then maybe go back up. It's probably what's going to happen. My guess is it's going to go a little bit lower. Just what it looks like on the 4 hour, just right shooting from the hip. Looks like it's going to go down. It's probably in some kind of a consolidation, defining the top boundary of that right now. Nothing really to do on the dollar. No trade right now. Yeah, this is an important piece of price action right here, and we're below that now. My guess is that this is going to put in some kind of a range and then fail and do that. Whatever. Kind of nothing on it right now. No directional bias on the dollar, we'll say. Let's look at Bitcoin. We'll take a look at Bitcoin. Why not? I mean, it is what it is. It's pretty high. I mean, it's pretty high. I mean, we all know what it's doing. It's like, what, 1600% off the high or something crazy. 1500%. I mean, off the low, sorry. The last corrective move, like real correction, we're about 1500% off of that low, with no lower low yet. I mean, it's just still going up and up and up and up and up and up. Things keeps going and keeps going. Kind of got a little bit of a range here, but it didn't really die. I think Lord Elon pumped it here. So structurally, it's not bad. It's just, it looks like it's starting to decrease in volatility and volume, distributing on a high. A lot of times what'll happen when stuff goes up in any asset, when you get a crazy run up, you'll start to get this distribution on a high, and it'll go into a range where it stops making higher highs and higher lows, and all of a sudden it starts making equal highs and equal lows. It's kind of getting tired. That's what it looks like. Just overall structure on the macro, it looks like we're starting to potentially go into a distribution phase, and we're really, I mean, we made a lower high. It doesn't look bad. Short to mid term, depending on what you want to call it. I mean, we're looking at 4 hour structure here. We're in a range, pretty clearly a very well defined range on Bitcoin. I mean, there's really nothing to say. We're pretty close to the middle of it. You've got buyers and sellers in the same place right here, short term over the last 12 hours or so. You got buyers and sellers in the same place. Not really the best time to make a decision on it. If you're trying to take a trade on Bitcoin, probably be looking at much lower time frames, scalping it or something. Now's not the time to take a position, to be honest. Like if you're looking to take a longer term position, or even like a a day trade or a swing trade or anything, now's not the time. We're right in the middle of a pretty well-defined range consolidation. Probably best to leave that alone. Nothing really to say there. It's doing good though. It's doing well, we'll say. Doing well. It's just on the high. It looks like a distribution on the high to me. I'm not saying it's not going to go up though. Right now, well, you can see the majority of your density over the last week. The majority of your density has been in one little tiny area here. Just, it's not really going anywhere. Not going anywhere. It had a good week though. Yesterday was a good day for Bitcoin. It's kind of pulling back. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes up a little bit more. That would make sense to me, but right now you've got equal lows and equal highs kind of situation. We're in a consolidation, a range consolidation on a macro high. So it's kind of no decision right now, but it's not bad. It doesn't look bad. There's just nothing really to write home about here. Nothing to say. Back over to my trade. Make sure my trade's not good. Nothing really to write home about here. So that was $1. Bitcoin, nothing to do. All right, let's get into currency. Euro, Aussie. Right now, this thing looks like an altcoin chart. I mean, I think crazy high, pump back up, then again it gets listed and sells off. It's listed on the exchange and everybody dumps it. Sold off back into nothing. Now it's dead. It's about time to start buying it again. Been waiting for a while on this. It's been a couple months waiting on Euro Aussie to find a low and start going back up. Every time it looks like it's making a higher low, it dumps back down again. So, whoops, it's kind of where we are right now. That was got higher lows. You have accelerating higher lows here. So it doesn't look bad, obviously. At the moment, you got lower highs and higher lows. So you have a range contraction. You've got decreased volatility moving in here. Question is it going to resolve up or down? Is it going to go back and break the low? Or put in some kind of a range, go back down here, bounce again here, and end up in some kind of a range like this? Or is it going to break the high and actually make a move? Who knows? That's the big question here on this. We've been waiting on this one for a while, a long time. Keep trying to catch the low on it. We've been trading this one for a while, trying to catch the low. Thing just won't go up. Euro CAD's kind of the same thing. We'll get to that in a minute. Euro Kiwi, Euro Aussie, Euro CAD, all very similar. A lot of the Euro pairs, but yeah, same thing here. I mean, this had a good move today. I mean, obviously we had a good 4-hour candle there on that last candle. Like I say, we're about an hour into this 4-hour and it's already moved up quite a bit. Good game. Wish I would have held that long. I had this long this morning. Took, not bad, took a couple pips out of it. Took like 20 something pips, 23 pips, something like that out of this. But it ended up going a little higher. I just wanted to get out of it in a little bit bigger position on. It looks like, I mean, we've got the obvious levels here. Got the obvious where your sellers are. It's pretty clean. Pretty easy to see that. I mean, it would make sense for it to keep going. You got higher lows. It wouldn't be a far stretch to think that it's going to break that little high right there. It's a little swing high. Nothing wrong with that. It's just not a buy right now. You run the risk of it making a lower high and pulling back. As far as buying it right now, you just run the risk of this happening and then it coming back down here and then maybe going again later. May get a better shot at it tomorrow. My guess is that this is going to probably pull back for the rest of the day. I think it's going to put in some kind of a high here and then pull back, but no trade on that. Structure wise, not bad. We'll watch it. We'll watch it. There's nothing really to say there. Euro Kiwi is kind of the same situation. The Australian dollar and the New Zealand dollar both have been very weak today. So these kind of outperformed. Euro Aussie and Euro Kiwi definitely the outperformers of the day. Euro pound was kind of in the same situation because of the weakness in the pound, and we'll get to that too. But definitely outperformed. Euro Aussie, Euro Kiwi, took them both today, long in the group. We were trying to catch these long. Kind of missed the first piece of the move. Waited for it to pull back in range a little bit, and then got the secondary push, so that's good. Got some of it. Caught about half of it. Same situation. This one's a little different. This had that weird pump at the end of the week last week. I think it was like Monday or Tuesday, because I remember trying to sell this, tried to catch this short like 3 days in a row, tried to catch this short, and just couldn't get it without getting stopped out. Kept getting stopped out on that. Then I tried to catch it short here and got stopped out again. And then, I mean, it's just, man, had this right so many times and just kept getting stopped out last week. It was frustrating. And it pretty much took back this whole low volume section here. It had a big section of low volume push here. Just ran straight up. There was no structure built there. And it just ground it all back. It took it all back. Back into dense consolidation. It took it all back. So that's it. Now, watching it, like structure wise, like it looks bullish. It's like it's going to be some kind of a range. You would hope for something like this. Kind of retested the high and pull back. Hold on one second. Oh man, about to sneeze. Thought I had to sneeze. Yeah, so you're looking for some kind of, I mean, that was a pretty solid pullback there on the macro. Same thing here. Very similar to Euro Aussie. And these are always pretty close to each other. Euro Kiwi and Euro Aussie, they tend to run together. The Australian dollar and the New Zealand dollar tend to run together. Make the same moves at the same time. So as goes the Aussie, so goes the Kiwi kind of situation. So you can take them both. A lot of times if I'm taking Euro Aussie or Euro Kiwi, I'll split the risk between both of them and just take them both, because they're probably going to make the same move. One may outperform the other, but they're probably going to go the same direction. I'd say very seldom do they split off. Does happen though. So anyway, big pump back up on that. Nothing to do. I mean, it's too close to a previous high. I would let that pull back. I think this is done for the day. It's getting pretty close. There's a little bit higher that it could go. Man, it's kind of painful to see that run like that. At 2 lots long on that, way lower. Holy cow. Yeah, it's done 40 pips since where I had 2 lots on it. I just took kind of a little 10 something pip scalp or something. Yeah, 15 pips. I took 15 pips out of it with 2 lots. I wish I would have left it on. It's done 40 pips from the entry straight up. Never came back. But yeah, it's a good game on that. It's not worth messing with. EuroCAD's trying to go. Man, this euro is just pumping. So anyway, back to what we're doing here. Looking at 4 hour euro dollar. Nothing really to say here. I mean, kind of watching the dollar. The dollar's basically made the opposite move. It's on a high and starting to pull back down. You'll tend to get opposite moves between euro dollar and the dollar index. If anybody watches the DXY, you'll get nearly inverse, an almost perfect inverse correlation. So that's something to watch. If you can figure out what the dollar's doing, you can probably figure out what euro dollar's doing. It can be really easy to trade this. It's not as volatile as pound pairs, but it can be very easy to figure out what it's doing. That's another thing we talk about on the other side. But right now, there's nothing really to say. It's just consolidation. It's putting in a block of price here. You can see what's going on here. You know where your sellers are. You know where your buyers are. If you segment this out, you can see what's going on here. What we're looking for is we want to see some kind of evidence. Are the sellers gone or are the buyers gone? Are we net long or short in the market right here from this block of price? Which way are we heading? Waiting for that to resolve. See which way we're going to go here. We're not trading in the middle. Price action hamburger, we stay out of the meat. Lull. So it's a range right now. Nothing to do. Try to stay out of the middle. Watching the dollar. Watch the strength of the dollar and try to figure out what's going to happen. My guess is it's going to push up a little bit and then break the low. It's probably going to be up on euro dollar. If I had to guess, it's probably going to move up. The euro is very strong even on higher time frames. So what my guess is going to be is this is going to screw around in some range, and maybe tomorrow probably going to push up another run here. It's pretty low, and we've just made a new low here, come back higher low on the macro. We've kind of bounced down like this, and now we're on the way back. And short term, we've made a couple higher lows and pushed up into a consolidation. This looks like a peak low right here. This looks like a cycle low to me. It definitely does. This right here, we have a range consolidation with a higher low. It's probably about to make a run back up like this on the macro. Probably going to come back up to here to test this. Draw a straight line. We'll just call it this area. That's probably what's going to happen over the next, we'll say, couple weeks. And the dollar may be coming back down after making that crazy high, but there's no confirmation yet, but that's what it looks like. That's what this push out of this range and consolidating like this, that's an important piece of information. We're no longer in the current range. We've pushed out of it and made a higher low and started consolidate above the previous range consolidation. My guess is that this, I'm gonna start watching this for longs, euro dollar. Start watching the dollar to come down after making those crazy highs. So, man, it's weird to say that because of where the equities market is. That's a whole nother conversation, but considering that the dollar could be coming down, like the S&P going to 5,000 now, what's going on? Over 40,000 on the Dow. Euro CAD. Waiting on this one. Been waiting on this one for a while. A huge opportunity to come up here. I mean, on the macro, it's very, very low. As far as this previous candle today, I mean, this actually didn't move that much today. I'm actually watching this one right now. It didn't move that much. There's nothing really to say on this previous candle. It's just kind of come up into this situation right here. You had a lot of rejections here. Had a lot of selling going on in this area historically. And this has been an area of contention. It's been a previous low back before like that. It's been a previous low. And once it got back under here, you've kind of got, you can see where your sellers are. Probably wouldn't do anything. My guess is that this is going to cut through this. It's just really slow. I'm looking for this to get through there. If we can cut through that level, going to be looking up here higher where your sellers are. Pretty easy to see this. That price action wise, no secret strategy here, just price action. As far as looking at like algorithmic ranges and stuff like that, stuff we do on the other side, try to figure out exactly where it's going to go. But price action wise, my guess is this is going to end up higher. It may need to pull back a little bit first. Hopefully, I don't know. The euro's already moved so far today. I'm not 100% sure that this is going to continue, but hopefully it's just grinding right now. In lower time frames, EuroCAD's just grinding up. It's not weak. I think the only reason this didn't run harder than it did was because the CAD was also strong. The CAD's been kind of gaining today. That may have something to do with oil. We'll take a look at that in a minute. Yeah, oil's gaining today. There's a direct fundamental correlation, positively correlated. Oil and CAD are positively correlated fundamentally. So if oil is strong, the Canadian dollar tends to be stronger most of the time. There's an economic correlation there between the price of oil and the strength of the Canadian dollar. they base their exchange rates, I believe, on the price of oil, which is weird. So a weird thing Canada does. The Canadian dollar is. EuroCAD, waiting on this one. Been waiting on this one for a while. It is dumb low. I think it's time to start going back. It's come back and on the macro retested this major consolidation here. I'm waiting on this to come back up. Every time this thing breaks the low, I get antsy about it. Get ready for it to start moving back up and start doing one of these things. And that's a pretty big move. You know, even that little move to break this high, you know, that's, 150 pips, 200 pips. And on top of that, it could go way higher than that. So much more. Again, like I said, it's just been tough with that strong Canadian dollar lately. And that has everything to do with oil. Look at what oil's done over the last couple months. We all seen oil and the Canadian dollar just followed it. It's just followed it up. And all the CAD pairs have just been getting murdered because of that. So when that's over, looks like oil, and then we'll talk about that in a little bit, looks like oil may be coming back down. Hopefully. It looks like in the market cycle of oil has started to drop a little bit. We've started a down cycle is what it looks like. Looks like we're on the first level. We'll get through that too. But hopefully there's going to be some big trades coming on the CAD pairs. Probably EuroCAD specifically. So we're watching that one. Again, it hasn't really moved that much today. The CAD's kind of strong, but the Euro is stronger, so it's kind of grinding up. I could see it going higher. Just no entry right now. I'd wait for it to pull back. But watching it. Euro pound, I don't trade this one much. It can be kind of violent price action wise. It's not really the best thing to trade, but it can be very useful to figure out what's the dynamic between the euro and the pound. What's going on there? Should I take euro-based pairs or should I take pound-based pairs? It's really good for that. Just is more of a gauge of direction than really a trading instrument, but you can definitely trade it. It's just not very clean. If you look at the price action on this, it's one of those pairs that's just not. It's like dollar yen's kind of the same way. UJ. It's just not clean price action. Aussie Kiwi is another one of those where it just tends to make weird movements or run together. This is one of those. It can just be really dirty price actions. Can be tough. Really, it just turns around, changes directions, just normally. Can really mess you up. So I don't really mess with this one that much, but it's obviously coming up. The euro today was a crazy day on this. This was a huge pump today because the euro is very strong and the pound is very weak at the same time. This thing went nuclear, so it was a good move today on that. I didn't take it. I know some people took it this morning. I know people took it yesterday, actually. Took it long yesterday. It was a big move from yesterday. I know a couple people in the group took this long yesterday on the low, way down here when it got down here. So it was a good move. It just doesn't move a lot of pips, and it's really violent, like violent price action wise. I don't mess with it much. I'll just go through everything. And if I could have that back from yesterday, caught the low on UJ or EJ, sorry. Man, yeah. Just closed it out. I was just looking for that run yesterday. It ended up slamming all the way back down and it came all the way back up. It's crazy because it never would have been stopped out from the original entry yesterday. If anybody was here yesterday, we took Euro Yen long and caught the low down there. If we'd have left it on, it would have still been way up. It's a good game on that. Macro structure wise. 1 second. Macro structure wise, it's on a high. I mean, you got an equal high here. Not a big fan of that. Yeah, I'm not trying to buy this today. You know what I mean? It's got an equal. I wouldn't necessarily sell it, but might stalk the. You know, if you were taking a risk If you were an aggressive trader, you'd be looking for the high of the day today on euro yen, anticipating some kind of a pullback, even in some kind of range, even if it does this and tries to break the high later. You know what I mean? Like, probably anticipate some kind of a range high here, like a double, what people call a double top. It's just a retest of the high. But it's already been coming up a lot in this current cycle. This has made multiple pushes to the upside. So it's one of those things where it's I have to look at it where it is. I know it hasn't moved that much today, but it might not be a bad idea to try to take an attempt on a short on the high of the day today on euro yen, because structurally where this is, probably not a bad idea. Just if it, if you get some kind of like double top and it pulls back in a range like that, which is probably what's going to happen. It's probably what it's going to do. And distribute up here on the high. And you may get, if you short the high of the day today, you may get a down day tomorrow. These are 4-hour candles, so it could take a while for that kind of thing to play out. You don't necessarily want to take it right now, but maybe because of where it is. Just looked at it on another chart. But, you know what I'm saying? Like, trying to anticipate that equal high, just any pullback at all, and it may go break it later, but some kind of equal high. Where euro yen is right now, looking at it on the magic chart on the other side, I wouldn't buy it right now. May not necessarily be a short, but I wouldn't buy it either. I would rather be short than long, just because of structurally where this is. Got an equal high potentially, so that's a thing. Short term, I mean, it had a big push up. The euro was strong. The euro was strong, but the yen was meh. The yen was kind of flat to strong itself. It wasn't weak. It just didn't really go anywhere. So this didn't move as far as something like Euro Aussie or Euro Kiwi did. It didn't have that big push up like a lot of the other Euro pounds did. Euro pounds. I was looking at Euro pound. Euro pairs like Euro pound, Euro Aussie, and Euro Kiwi. Some of the others didn't really move that far, and Euro yen's one of those. Just because the yen itself was kind of meh today. It didn't really do anything. So, wouldn't really do anything on it right now. Again, we're just going over everything. Just taking a look at the markets. We got some downtime here at 6:23 a.m. New York. Tends to be a really pretty dead, honestly. Dead spot during the day. Call it pullback and range hour, because that's about what happens. Things pull back and range during that time. And then start getting kicked off, ready for New York in a little bit, about an hour. So we're going to take some time and go through the market, see what we got. Archive the video this time. Pound Aussie is, nothing. It's a range. It's garbage. These are 4-hour candles. I don't know how many days this was, but yeah, that's 5 days of zero. Zip, zilch, nada, goose egg status. Nothing. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. But it's not bearish either. Macro, it's a range. It's probably closer to the middle of said range. It's probably not, it's not a good position to take for a swing. I'd rather be long than short. If I had to choose, I would choose long, just to retest the high. It's obviously on the way up, and this short term, this kind of price action isn't necessarily bearish. It's just also not moving. That last candle didn't do it any justice. This last big bearish candle on that last 4 hour that just closed, this could have been so much better. If it would have pulled back and wicked back up and held, that would have been a different story, but it just doesn't look good. I would wait to see what this candle does. The pound and the Aussie are both weak at the same time right now. That's the problem, is they're going the same direction. The pound and an index of the pound and an index of the Australian dollar are both declining in strength right now. The average price is declining in both instances here. So you're getting chop. It's a choppy market. That's what happens. That manifests as chop in the chart when the two components of the pair are going the same direction. choppy, man. It's just, I mean, you got some pretty serious 4-hour chop there. This can be a really good pair to trade, though. I love pound Aussie. Pound Aussie and pound Kiwi, probably the most volatile pairs in Forex. I know pound Kiwi used to be. This is something I used to actually look at a lot. I used to look at this a lot, the ratio of volatility to range, or spread to range to spread ratio. I used to look at a lot of weird data points like that as a programmer, trying to figure out what's the most efficient thing to trade. Pound Kiwi used to be the most efficient pair to trade. Pound Aussie is kind of the same thing because the Aussie and the Kiwi run together. They can be really, really volatile pips wise. They can move a lot of pips in a day. But this right here is just, there's nothing to say here. It's just flat. Macro, my guess is it's going to go break that high. It's just not doing anything right now. I wouldn't do anything on it. If it holds that, there's no trade on that. Pound Kiwi looks a little different because the Kiwi's a little weaker than the Aussie is probably why. I think it has been. They're going the same direction, but the Kiwi's been weaker. It's a range, but it's pushed out of this current block on the 4-hour, and it looks like it's going to go higher. This looks like it's going to end up higher to me. Hard to take a position right now as far as today goes. And we were just talking about this in the group this morning about pound Aussie and pound Kiwi. If the pound, because the pound's been so weak today, if the pound starts to pick back up because of how weak the Kiwi and the Aussie are, pound Aussie and pound Kiwi are probably going to go up and break the high. We just had this discussion a little bit ago. It's not very fast, but it may happen. It's a possibility. So we'll watch it. Right now it's in a range. It would have been better to take it long from lower. It's not a short. It's not a short at all. But skip it right now. It's in a range. Pound CAD. I mean, again, it's a whack consolidation. The Canadian dollar's been weird because of oil. It's been strong. The pound's been strong and the CAD's been strong at the same time. This has been a really rough pair to trade lately. Over the last while, it's been tough. Kind of the same thing as pound Aussie. They're kind of going through this same, weird consolidation here. Is just nothing. Just death and destruction to your account balance is what it is. Stay out of it. It didn't break the high here. Kind of got these equal highs. It didn't break. Now it's pushed back down, but you're back into buyers that have been, you've got untested liquidity here from this rejection. And I got a rejection block here. This little piece of price is very important right here, this little section, and project it out. It's probably going to come back down and then bounce and do that and go back up and just end up in a range again. It's no entry right now. You don't want to short this or buy this yet. Let this stabilize, wait for the next candle to close, or wait for this candle to close on the 4-hour. And if the next candle pulls down, your risk is going to be that it does not break the low. And I would only take this long, but on the next 4-hour candle, if this candle closes something like this, if the next 4-hour candle drops, I would probably take it long and anticipate the gamble will be that it doesn't break the low and it's going to go back up and pull some kind of little morning star thing. Say this candle closes like this. If the next candle comes down, makes a wick, does not break the low, and does something like this, pulls back up, then you may get something like that. But I would wait for the next candle. Try to get that sniper entry. You'd be looking on lower time frames, trying to get as close to the low as you can. But no trade right now. Again, the CAD and the pound are both strong. Leave it alone. It's probably best to look at something else. Pound yen. I'm going to talk about looking at something else. Same thing here. It's distributing on the high. This is dumb high. Completely ridiculous because of the yen. This has a lot to do with the stock market. Equities are just obviously on these ridiculous highs. And as equities continue to go higher, The yen and the dollar are going to tend to do the opposite and go lower. There's flow out of the yen and dollar and into risk, into equities. And as the yen goes down, pound yen's going to go up, right? That's how this works. So this has just been on this ridiculous parabolic run up, and this has everything to do with the stock market. That's why you need to understand what's going on in the stock market if you trade trading GJ. You need to know what's going on with equities if you're going to be trading this, because of the yen. It has everything to do with the movement of the yen. So right now, short term, trading GJ, nothing. It's just a range. Just a range. There's nothing to do. It's really tight. It's a distribution on the high. We've recently broken a major swing high. Watching to see what equities are doing. See if we can get any direction on the yen. Right now, it's just sideways. There's nothing to do. You don't want to sell it because you're going to be selling into a bunch of buyers. I mean, there's people probably still willing to buy this. Man, when this thing comes down, it is going to be biblical. Got this swing low down here. Man, when that breaks, the tag liquidity under there, son, that is going to be a run to the downside. This hasn't happened yet. It's 500 pip run. It's going to happen. It is going to happen. But when is the question. Right now, we're distributing sideways. It's not a good look. We've gone from higher highs, higher lows, to equal highs, equal lows. And all of a sudden, that's going to start making lower highs, lower lows, and start doing that. It's coming. This rollover is in transit right now. And we've recently broken a high. What happens every time you break a new high? So, watching this one. Watching pound yen. Actually been trying to short this since last week. Just every time this makes a new high, just trying to catch the high on it. Why not? May it go higher? Maybe. But we're talking about, what's going to happen in the next day or two. Next couple days, maybe. I wouldn't short it right now. It's obviously run down. We were just, missed this earlier. Talked about this earlier this morning. I'm like, we should really take this short. And then it just took off and died. And I didn't take it. It had the right price action. I just didn't take it short. So one of the first things we talked about this morning in the group, I was like, I should have taken that short. That would have been a good trade. Holy cow. Should have taken it. But, so yeah, now that it's dropped, there's nothing to do on that. Just leave it alone. There's no trade here. Unless you're trading really low time frames. It's a range. It's an overall macro range, and it's very high, so it's not a buy. Not interested in buying it. This could go bad. This could go south quickly. Depends on what happens in the stock market. And we got new all-time high every day now, so we're back to that mess. When those chickens come home to roost in the equities market, pound yen is going to take an L, the likes of which the world has never seen before. Pound dollar, kind of the same thing on pound dollar, because craziness in the dollar has been really weak, and now that's kind of started to chill out a little bit. It's a messy consolidation. There's no real direction on the dollar right now. Short term, there's really nothing to say structurally. Just waiting on it. Taking it day by day on this one on the dollar. Right now, it's come down a lot. Obviously, the pound was really weak today. Nothing to say there. Pound is super weak today. So right now, we know where our buyers are. No reason to sell it. You're just selling into buyers. It's already dropped. So what you're probably going to end up with is some kind of a range like this that just hasn't really defined yet. It hasn't really developed. That kind of thing. And it's probably not a good idea to start selling it now on the bottom of the range. See what I'm saying? Segment this off like this. Probably not a good idea, right? You know, where your buyers and sellers are, where your extremes. You have a well-defined range, probably on the low, or retesting that range low now. This could easily just come all the way back up and just be in consolidation for the next day or two. No trade right now. It's already moved down too far to sell it. And it's a little dangerous to buy here. I would wait and see what happens on the next candle. If the next candle doesn't fail, maybe take a stab on it back up, to be honest. At some point, the pound's going to get a relief rally. Pound's been really weak. It's probably due for a relief rally. May get a reversal going into New York. I would rather be long than short pound dollar, but it's not necessarily the right entry right now. We'll get back to that one. It's worth watching. Where pound dollar is, it's worth watching. Pound Swiss, we talked about this earlier. Should have taken this one short too. This is another one we talked about. Pound yen short and pound Swiss short were the outperformers. This was probably the biggest pound performer right now today since London. I just didn't take it. We were talking about it earlier, where it was, looking for the continuation. This dropped and it started putting in some price action that was pretty easy to understand. It looked like it was going to be a pretty high probability of a continuation lower. That's exactly what happened. I just didn't take it. It's another one of those. I wish I would have taken it, but I was already in something. I was already in Euro Aussie and Euro Kiwi long. So I didn't mess with it. But now that it's dropped, no trade. Nothing to do. Again, the Kiwi's been pretty, the Swiss, sorry, not the Kiwi. Swiss has been really weak. Same thing. It's just way high. The Swiss franc tends to run with the yen and the dollar also. That's something else. It's just this weird dynamic because of the interest rates. They have negative rates or have had negative rates. It's a good vehicle for a carry trade and rotation. Something that happens at an institutional level, where you borrow money at a lower rate than than the thing you're buying. You borrow money and buy something that pays a higher yield than the rate that you need to pay back. So it's like free money. It's basically free money, and this happens a lot at an institutional level. It's called a carry trade, and then it gets rotated into other things like gold. And there's this like three-way rotation that happens between safe havens like gold, stocks, and then like the dollar, yen, and Swiss. And Swiss is one of those three, the three caballeros. But the yen is the one that's the most important, really. But anyway, long story there. But yeah, Swiss can get so basically the point is this has been running up because of the weakness in the Swiss franc, but right now today it's strong, so this is coming down. Obviously, if the secondary component of the pair is strong, then the chart's going to come down. The candle, this pair specifically is going to lose as you're trading the spread between the two components, the pound and the Swiss. Right now, again, we had a really super strong Swiss today, so this is dumped harder. This outperformed to the downside. Pretty clean. We had a really weak pound and a really strong Swiss franc, so this made sense. This made a bigger move than probably the rest of the pound pairs. And again, it's already run pretty far to the downside. Nothing to do. Yeah, probably the low of the day. Looking for reversals on the pound, I would say. I think it's pretty obvious this is going to reverse. I would wait for the next candle for it to retest that low, but make a higher low, and then maybe catch this back up. We'll get into that in a little bit. We're still in a dead spot here, and we're trying to do some analysis while we're in a dead spot and make use of the time. There's really no entries to take yet. We're watching to see what's going to happen, how price action develops during this time, leading up into kind of pre-New York, so we can figure out if we're going to get continuations or reversals going into New York. And it looks like we're going to get reversals on both the euro and the pound, and we'll try to dig a little deeper into that in a minute. But again, nothing to do on pound Swiss right now. Probably reversals on this. We'll see. We'll dig a little more detailed in a minute, try to figure out which ones are going to be likely outperform. Try to pick the most efficient use of time and capital. That's the name of the game. NASDAQ Crazy. I mean, this thing's made a pretty big run this week. Nothing really to say. It's already moved a lot back into a rejection block here. It's rejected right on cue. Nothing to do. Probably no trade. It looks like it's going to be a low volatility range. Let me look at something else. Hold on. Doesn't look good. It doesn't look good, but at the same time, it's not dying yet. Probably do nothing. S&P is probably going to be the same thing. Just new all-time high yesterday. Congrats to the bulls. 40.85 yesterday. God. Crazy. You know, I've had this conversation a lot about who's really winning in America, right? Or not even America, but the world. More about classes than politics or nations. You know, who's really winning here? The workers or the business owners / investors? Who's really winning? You know, you see this, do this, and you see the employment do this. There's a pretty clear juxtaposition here. Pretty clear what's going on in the world. See you turn on the news and you just see an all-time high on the stock market. It's almost like every day. And then people are lining up at food banks and just record unemployment claims. Got 900,000 unemployment claims a week. Stuff like that going on. And then you see the stock market going up like this. And who's really winning here? And that's why we're here, right? Because everybody's trying to do better for themselves and their families. Trying to be smart about the future and try to say, wait a minute. Who's really winning in the world right now? Is it the workers or is it the investors / business owners? Who's really in? Who's really making money? You know what I mean? That's why we're here. So you can really see this. You look at the chart of the S&P 500. It's surreal to look at this. And during COVID and all this stuff, a lot of people have lost their jobs and just struggling right now. And then you look at this just straight up, just straight to the moon, because this has absolutely nothing to do with the economy. Zero. Has everything to do with speculation. And just doesn't, it's pretty clear. I think it will be clear, crystal clear from now until the end of time that there is no direct correlation between the health of the economy and the stock market, or even this FOREX factory. It's fake news. Doesn't mean anything. And if it did, this wouldn't be at an all-time high. Think about it. Just keeps going up. It's just speculation. It's what people believe. It's hype. Hype is all it is. People believed that the Fed was going to hold everything up. I mean, they came out and said that they're tapering off asset purchases, expecting inflation. The thing's still going up. It's crazy. It's still going up. I mean, what do you do? But it's just surreal to see that. We have a new all-time high on the S&P as of yesterday afternoon. And just wrecked. Global economies are just not healthy. Anyway, it's crazy. Nothing to do there. All-time high. Right now, this looks pretty rough. I don't like the price action on that. Makes sense to retest this consolidation probably down here somewhere. We'll look for that. It's not really a short, but it may be later. Doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. It looks like it's going to go down to me. Pretty clean. This kind of thing, though, you got to be careful with this kind of thing. A lot of times it'll go back, it'll pull down and then go back and retest the high or break the high. It's crazy. He's just flying. Yeah, that's the crazy thing, is this is so high now that when everything does go back to normal, you wonder if it's going to be a sell the news event or if it's going to go. Why would it go higher? There's going to be a practical limit to how much money is in the market. You know what I mean? Where'd all this money come from? And I know there's a lot of new investors, and that may be part of it. A lot of buy the dip mentality, but that was a long time ago. That was over a year ago. This is different. There's something else going on here. I think this thing is way too hot, but that's another story. Just waiting. I'm waiting for it to come down, but like actually come down. And it may take a while because this thing is so high. It may take a while. Talk about relativity, you know, relative to where it was and the amount of time that this happened in, the short amount of time. It basically did 10 years worth of movement in a year, literally. I mean, holy cow. So what happens when things do go back to normal? Is it going to be a sell the news? Good question. Doesn't look good right now, but you always got to be aware this could go. This kind of price action looks like it's going to go retest the high. Wouldn't short it right this second. Catching it on the high would have been different. If I had a short in profit, I would put a stop at break even, let it go. I wouldn't short it now. On the Dow, same thing. Same thing on the Dow. New all-time high yesterday. Craziness. Yeah, it could definitely go higher. I could see it going higher. It's, you know, things are irrational. They tend to stay irrational. And all of a sudden, it all collapses at once. That's how it works. Dollar CAD. Again, the dollar is pretty funky. No telling what's going on with the dollar. Still watching the dollar. I mean, it's up. It's just recently broken a high. It doesn't look very good here. My guess is that this is going to fail pretty soon. It's moving up right now, but slow. My guess is going to fail and go back and break that low on the macro. As far as today is concerned, just kind of grinding. It's not really going anywhere. No real trades on the dollar right now. Depends on what you're trading it against. All right, so I think we finally got like a high of the day on the euro, by the way. Watching these. Maybe. This may even just range up here. I don't even want to short the euro. Looking at it, I don't even want to sell it. Depends on what it's against, and we'll try to dig into that in a little bit. But so yeah, I'm just looking at dollar CAD. Yeah, I don't know about this one. It's low, same thing. Just the Canadian dollar has just been flying because of oil. Oil has just dragged the CAD up to the stratosphere, and it's just punishing anything against CAD. Anything trading against it, it's just been getting punished for months. The lightning bolt to the downside. Short term, I mean, it's just in between a swing high and a swing low. Probably wouldn't do anything. Again, there's no real trade. You're right in between a swing high and a swing low. Probably leave it alone. Moving up short term. That next 4-hour candle is probably going to pull back a little bit. And then maybe on it tomorrow, maybe it'll go higher. It's a higher low, but I mean, maybe. It depends on the dollar. The CAD's been strong today, so this has been a little weird. It's probably not going anywhere. It's right in between. It's almost no trade. Short term, it's pushing up. Let's see what we got. Hold on, short term. Probably got a little more room. Not much. Probably going to reject here really soon. Back into the low of this previous consolidation right here. It's probably going to pull up here and then reject. I wouldn't buy it now. You don't want to buy into that. It's been coming up for 16 hours straight. I want to buy into it now on the high. Oil. This one is an interesting one. Everything's playing out perfectly. Came all the way, see it? Came all the way back down to that range low and then bounced. Looking for this to make a lower high. And then start filling out this gap right here. Come down, break this consolidation low and start filling it out lower. I'm looking for low 50s, high 40s on oil. People don't want to hear that, but I think this consolidation right here is going to be key. Liquidity below the consolidation to tap to take it back up. I think we're just in the first level of the down cycle here. Think about what this has done here. Months ago, tracking it way back here. It's funny. That's not unreasonable. I think it's about time to start. It's obviously stepped down, made a peak high, dropped into a lower level consolidation. Doesn't look very good. You got a gap down here that probably needs to be filled out. Just a gap in volume. There wasn't much volume here. There's very little during this section. There's very little. It was just like one of those pumps when this first started to take off. There's very little consolidation here. Very little structure built. I think this consolidation is likely to be that platform where it falls back to fill that out. This tends to be how price works. I'm probably going to drop down and fill this out right here for a while, stay down here in a range. I think it's going to go lower. Looking for a lower high on oil price action wise. Kind of a messy chart, but you understand what's going on. I've been tracking this one for a while. It looks like it's got a couple more levels to drop down in the cycle. Looking for the lower high, waiting for this to roll back over. Right now, today, it may go higher, actually. It may go higher. Right now, I probably wouldn't do anything. Let me see what we got. Yeah, it doesn't look good. Actually, yeah, I wouldn't do anything on this. It's probably going to stay down here in range. It looks like this is going to go lower, just as far as structure is concerned. I mean, we could get into the whole conversation about fundamentals with oil, as far as demand looking out into the future. Demand for oil into the future, I think, is a pretty bleak outlook. And it's probably the world's most famous supply and demand market. So you have a supply and demand market with a pretty clearly degrading demand, just fundamentally overall looking into the future. It's not looking good for oil. It's just not. And if you look at where this is historically, man, is it worth $100 a barrel again? It has some pretty strong arguments against that. So I don't know, but that doesn't mean it's not going to go up. Right now, it looks like we've got a couple more drops to do. Watching this consolidation back here from January. Before this run up, this last couple months run up, I think we're going to just dip just below that and then go back up and retest a high. Maybe make a lower high, higher high, who cares? But I think it's going to have a little bit more to go down. I'm not saying short it right this second. I don't mean it's a short now. Doesn't look good today, though. Looking at it on short term, it doesn't look good. Even with that bullish candle on that last 4 hour, it doesn't look good. Whatever. We'll keep an eye on that. We're always keeping an eye on it. Same thing. You can see a little cleaner on WTI. It's a range consolidation. Not good. I mean, you got a range below almost what would can be considered a peak high, the high of a cycle. Depends on what you want to call it. And then this is key right here. This area right here of low volume. It was just a low volume pump. There's no structure built there. It's going to cut right through that like a hot knife through butter, and then stop above this consolidation right here and range, very likely, and start to range and fill this gap out below this right here. This whole gap is just going to probably stop and fill. That's how it works. And then it'll probably dip through it and scare everybody. It'll probably dip it one more time at the end and scare everybody. Tap liquidity, stop everybody out below that consolidation. But everybody stops are there. Take everybody out below that, and all the breakout traders will try to take it short, and it'll dip them out and then go back up. Probably how that's going to work. It's how it always goes. No trade right now. It doesn't look good though short term. Looks like it's going to come back down in range. It's like we're going to be in some kind of a range here, but lower today, lower probably, very likely. Gold. Here's another one, controversial. Trying to figure out what's going on here myself. I have a theory about gold. Won't get into it all right now, but I think where this is right now, a lot of people are very bearish on gold, but it's been bearish for the last year almost. It's already come down. I think gold is probably a good vehicle to rotate profits into. If you're looking to get out and take profits off, secure the bag and take profits on things that are stupid high like this, the S&P 500, like this, things like Bitcoin, stuff like that. Stocks, more importantly, stocks. It's where the volume is. You're talking about a container as big as gold. But those types of things, anything that's just burnt toast that's been going up forever and you've already gained a huge amount, looking for a vehicle to rotate into. You're looking to rotate those profits into something lower. Gold is a pretty good candidate for that. And a lot of people are very bearish on gold from here. I don't know, may have a different way of looking at it, but I'm watching it. I'm watching gold. I think this is probably going to end up higher because of that. I'm waiting for this equities market to get torn down. When this starts to go down, a lot of times the risk, things like oil and gold, will go with it. I think people are going to be looking for somewhere to put their money depending on where the dollar is. And if the dollar is high, the dollar's already been moving up and it's on a short-term high. When equities start dying, and the dollar is also it's probably going to go up too. But I think a lot of people are going to be looking to rotate their money into something that's of value, something that's lower. This is probably a good candidate for that. If it's going to stop here and show that it's going to hold this kind of historical level here, I would watch gold, especially with that equal low that just got put in. It's not a buy right now, but just game theory wise, I would probably watch this over the next couple months. When the stock market starts selling off, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot of flow that goes back that gets rotated into gold. A lot of profits get rotated into this because this just got torn down for the last 8 or 9 months and it's back to a historical level. It's interesting where it is right now. Something to watch. As far as today, I don't know, man. It's a range. It's nothing. It's not doing anything. Gold's been just kind of been garbage the last little bit. Whole month, it's been nothing. It's just been nothing. And you had a couple days of move, torn down, took it all back immediately. Now it's just kind of back into the consolidation. If you look at this, the majority of your density has been in one area for a month straight. 90% excluding this 2 or 3 day run here, at 90% of the last month and a half in one tight range. Blowing accounts is what it's doing. No trend here. There's no move. Gold's been really bad. And now it's back into that consolidation. It's just back. Back into ranging price action. There's no trade. There's no trade. I don't know what I'd choose if I had to pick. If I had to pick and not look at it for 2 months, I'd pick long. If I had to make a decision, take a position, no stop loss, and I can look at it in 2 months, I would pick long. But that's about it. It's no trade short term right now. Just back into the garbage. Got a long way to go to get out of it. Right now, short term looks like nothing. So I don't know. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. There's your market. Been rough price action lately. Been really choppy market over the last month or two. It's been tough. It's been tough trading. There's not a lot of trends. It's hard to get in something and stay in something. That has definitely been the theme. It's been really choppy and rangy. and just erratic, irrational price movement. It's been like that. It's been different the last couple months than it's been the last year or two. And a lot of that has to do with these higher time frame levels we're getting. Like a lot of this stuff, like pound yen, we got a 3-year high. Goes back to April of 2018, I believe, last time we were up here. And you got multi-year highs, multi-year lows, these extremes. You have extremes on a lot of things. And what happens at extremes is you tend to get lower volatility ranges, like distributions and stuff like that. You in higher time frames, you end up in these choppy environments. And that's kind of been the story. You end up in this chop. It gets really choppy, and then it'll make a run, then it gets really choppy again. It's been difficult to deal with, but it's not going to be that way forever. Whenever you get consolidations like this, you tend to get big moves after, so it's all right. You know, we've just been in a choppy, overall, the market's been pretty choppy lately. As far as today, here comes your reversals in the euro. Looking for reversals in the euro and the pound, both. Euro back to the downside, pound to the upside. Look for anything that's already moved a lot and maybe try to find a reversal. We'll go through some of that stuff in a few minutes. Just wanted to archive this video. Just want to just take a look at everything, take a snapshot in time, take a look at the market, see where everything is. Have some thoughts on overall structure and what's going on. Nothing really to do right now. Watching for, we're still in pullback time, 7 a.m. New York. Still kind of in a dead spot. Moving toward the end of this hour, closer to that 8 a.m. New York candle, probably get a little more clarity. Like this pound Swiss right here looks good, actually. Probably get a little more clarity. My guess is we're going to get euro reversals to the downside, pound reversals to the upside. I think it's a reversal day going into New York. So anyway, give me just a few minutes. Let me save this, and I'll be right back, and we'll see if we can catch some pips.